Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you my TBR for December. So for the month of December, I am going to be participating in a new reading challenge because we know how well the other ones have gone so far. But I tend to be really good at reading challenges or readathons that have like really obscure prompts. So the readathons that are like, oh, just pick a book that's been at the top of your list or something that you really want to read. Even though I'm a mood reader, that doesn't get me reading for some strange reason. So for the month of December, I'm going to be participating in Lightfall, which is a branch of the Magical Read-a-thon. So if you are familiar with Magical Read-a-thon, it is hosted by G over at Book Roast. It is a readathon that is kind of a D&D based, similar in style. You create a character, your character picks a proficiency, and based off of what your proficiency is, you go to Aurelium, which is the university. All of the classes that you take are prompts, basically, for reading. So to pass a class, you get a specific prompt, you have to fulfill that prompt to pass the class, that sort of a thing. So G does at least two major aspects of Magical Read-a-thon every year, one in the fall, one in the spring. It kind of follows like actual like university semesters, that sort of a thing. Well, in winter, she's doing a lovely little mini-mester. It is only supposed to last a week, but let's be real, I probably won't be able to get through all of it in a week. So I'm giving myself the entire month of December to get through the prompts on this list, which I'm actually quite excited for. Because again, I read better when I have like obscure things picking random books for me than just, oh, what do you want to read right now? That, even though I'm a mood reader, that doesn't work very well for me. So I'm going to go over the prompts. I'm going to show you what the books that I have chosen for those prompts. Additionally, I've got a couple of books that I wanted to add on, and just because it is December, it is the holiday season. So there are some books that I've been waiting to read until this time of year. So to start off on our list, we have our lovely little map. So on this map, it is actually a map of a little town, and then each one of the prompts is fulfilled by a store that we are going to go visit. So the first prompt on the list is for the Occult Premonitions shop, and it is a book set in the future or an alternative world. So for the first book, I have chosen The Spark of the Everflame, or Spark of the Everflame. There's no the involved, but Spark of the Everflame by Penn. This book fits the prompt because it is set in an alternate world, and in this world there are the descended and there are the mortals. Gods came to this world, they mated with mortals and created the descendant. If you're trying to figure out what descendant are, think like Fae. Okay, it's just a fancy name for Fae, let's be real about this. There are the immortals with tough skins, powers, magic, extremely attractive, large in stature, all that kind of stuff. They're Fae. Okay, they're Fae. And in this world, the descended are the ruling class. They have all the money. The mortals, the humans, they're going to be the lower class. They live in the slums, struggle, all that kind of stuff. We've heard the story before. And again, this is going to fulfill the prompt. Spoiler warning, since I've actually already filmed this and the video just came out really bad, I'm refilming. I've actually finished this already. It took me about a day and a half to read, and it was really freaking good. But that's besides the point. We're gonna pretend like I didn't say that, but I am refilming this, so I already finished this. Anyways, next on our list is trying to read it backwards through the paper because I'm trying to be cool, but it's not gonna work out. Cozy read. The prompt for the Owlcat Craft Cafe is actually a cozy read. So since I'm not a cozy reader, this was actually kind of a difficult prompt to fulfill. I mean, I have cozy books, but they weren't books that I intentionally purchased because I wanted to read them. No, a couple of them are. I'll be honest, a couple of them were purchased because I was like, ooh, let's try cozy. But for the most part, that's not me. So most of my cozy books come from subscription boxes. So I decided that my cozy read was actually going to be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faries. Now I've heard that it is a cozy fantasy, and that is why I've decided to choose this for the prompt. I've never read any of the cozy fantasy. I have quite a few books, like I have all the TJ Klunes, I have the Emily Wildes, I have a bunch, and I've never actually picked one up. To be honest with you, I might like cozy fantasy. I've just never had any experience with it, but we are going to try it today because everyone has just kind of said that it's a cute cozy fantasy. So if it doesn't go, it's going to be really sad because I own the Fairy Loot edition as well as the sequel to it, as well as like the overlays that went inside that came in like a fairy loot box. Like, these are decked out editions, and it would be very sad if I didn't like it. So the next stop on our little adventure through Lightfall is the Shank and Shawl Legitimate Retailer. So that prompt is actually going to be a book that gives you chills. Now, the prompt can be like something that gives you scary chills or something that gives you like romantic chills. Basically anything that gives you goosebumps. I don't have a very large collection of horror. The books that I have purchased in horror, I've either read or I can't find them. That is a problem with my library. I need to make a card catalog or something, like a spreadsheet, something to keep track of my books, because at this point I just buy them, I put them on the shelf alphabetically, and then it's like maybe I might come across it. So just remember, a large library isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Anyways, so for a book that gives us chills, I decided to not go with the horror and instead go in the opposite direction and do a book that gives me the romantic chills. Now, I've heard a lot about this book. So this is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. It's one of those ones that are just kind of making its way around in popularity. So it was a indie published book that has been recently traditionally published. So this edition, the traditionally published edition, I got the paperback because that's all we have in the US right now, actually came out on December 3rd. So I'm hoping that this book will give me the romantic chills because I heard that it was quite good. Additionally, it just so happened that I joined a local book club, and the book that they are reading for the month of December, which is the first month that I'm joining, is actually Quicksilver. So it's kind of killing a couple birds with one stone. So it works out perfectly. So this is actually the next book that I'm picking up. I read like the first line of it before I started filming. So this is gonna be my next read and I'm super excited for it. It is a fae romance, if I recall correctly. So the main character is a female. She is struggling in her world. She accidentally slips into the realm of the fae. She meets big bad warrior guy, Death Incarnate, and they go adventuring to do something. What are they doing? They're adventuring probably to save someone. That's usually how these things go. So we'll see how that goes because I'm excited. The next stop on our Lightfall map is actually going to be Wallace's Wonderful Winter Wanimals. That says Wanimals. Took me a minute to read it because I was like, that's not a word, it's Wanimals. So Wallace's Wonderful Winter Wanimals. And the prompt for that one is Aurora colors. So colors that are in the Aurora Borealis, like pinks, greens, purples, that sort of a thing. So I have to find a book that has one of those colors on the cover, and I actually did one better than that. I picked a book that has all of the colors on the cover. So I actually just got this recently in a Illumicrate box, and it is Until We Shatter. And if you'll notice, it's got pink and purple and green, and it's a super pretty edition. So I'm excited that I actually have a book that fills all of the colors. If I recall correctly, Until We Shatter by Kate Dillon. This is about, it's like a traditional YA fantasy plotline. There's a girl, she's struggling to make ends meet. I believe she has a hidden power. She's hiding it from the church. The church would kill her if they found out. Her mother falls ill. She has to steal something like a church relic or something like that to get the money to save her mom. So it's a heist story, and there's a slew of characters that sound absolutely lovely. So this is definitely something that I've been wanting to pick up. So this year, like Illumicrate's choices have been like very hit or miss, like very hit or miss. I know a lot of people have canceled their Illumicrate subscription. I have not. Obviously, I still get all of them. I even if it doesn't sound like something I'm interested in, I figure, hey, at some point I'll probably want to read it because I'm very moody like that. But this is actually one of the picks that I saw previously that I was like, okay, no, that sounds really good. I'm excited to get to this one. So the next stop on our list is going to be Smith and Friends and Sons, Arcane Goods and Such. The prompt for that one is going to be winter or a winter scene on the cover. So again, that was kind of a hard one to find a book for. I had a few in mind, but I had already read them, so I'm like, okay, what exactly am I going to come up with here? And then I remembered A Whisper in the Walls by Scott Reintgen. So this is actually the sequel to A Window in the Darkness or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact title. I'll put it up on the screen. Well, I read the first book earlier this year, and it was surprisingly good. Like, I didn't think it was gonna be as good as it was. I picked it up with my daughter so that we could buddy read it. She never ended up reading it, so I just read it. I'm not sure what this one is about. I think it's just a continuation of the story. So the first book is basically, there is a girl, she's of the lower classes, she attends a magical university that's on a floating island in the sky. She has magical abilities, but again, she's that kid that's on scholarship. She's trying to get a job in one of the prestigious families after she graduates, and it's just not going well. Like, they are just not seeing her for her worth, even though she's top of her class. So what happens is her and a bunch of kids are going home for fall break or spring break or winter break or something like that. I think they're going home for winter break. And they go in this lift that brings them down off of the floating island. And in the process, some magical mishap happens, and all of this group of kids are teleported out into the wilderness hundreds of miles away from the university. And the group have to make it back to civilization, surviving with the help of each other. So that book was really amazing. There was a lot of death, okay? Not many people made it out of that situation, but it was a really good story. So this book supposedly picks up where that one left off. So I am definitely excited to read this. Hopefully it's only a duology and there's not a third one, because then there's another series I can check off of my list of series that I've started and not finished, because that list is very long, very uncomfortably long. I don't even want to give you a number. I don't remember the number anymore, honestly, because of how devastating that number is, but it's a lot. It's a lot. So we're just gonna, it'll be a check. Now, if it's only the second one in like a trilogy or longer, that's okay. We can still do this. I believe in me. I believe in us, because I'm sure some of you out there have the same problem. So the next stop on our little adventure through the town is actually going to be the Old Tales bookstore. And the prompt for this one is a book that you need to read before the end of the year. Now, Quicksilver technically can qualify for that because I have to read it before the end of December due to the book club that I joined. However, there is a book that I'm in more dire need of finishing, because I know that it's gonna be a struggle to finish, because I've already started it and I'm already like lost. I'm already lost. Now, bear with me. And that book is Malice by Gwynne. So I decided, like a dum-dum, to start participating in the Ketchup Book Club, which is a book reading club online that's hosted by a few booktubers in the community. One of them being Becca in the Books. I think she's the one that started it. Don't quote me on that if I'm not giving credit to the right person, but she's the person that I heard it from, and she's been a part of every one of the Ketchup Book Club. She's been a part of every Ketchup Book Club there was. They started, I think they did like Game of Thrones. I know that they did Joe Abercrombie. There's just been a bunch. They have now finished all of the Joe Abercrombie books, so they are starting a new author, and it is Gwynne. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna hop in and join in this because I do love epic fantasy, and honestly, I don't have a reason to push through a lot of it because, I mean, it's really thick and some of it's kind of dry. So I'm like, well, if I have a reason and I have some pushback, some challenge to keep me going, maybe I will actually do this. So I started it. My husband is also reading it. We have to finish it by the end of December because the live show is in January. Currently, I'm on page 83, and I think there's 600 pages. Yeah, there's like 630 pages. So I have a ways to go. So this is something that I definitely have to work into my schedule. Worst comes to worst, I'll get the audiobook, but the audiobook might also take me forever. Let's be real about it, because I don't listen to my books on multiple speed. But I think if I just sit down, I'll be able to get through it. I have faith. I have faith. Malice is a story. It's an epic fantasy, and it follows a cast of characters set in this world where there are gods or there's angels and demons and giants, which I feel like the giants are a reference to Nephilim from the Bible, but I might not be correct in that. It just feels like it is. So there's demons and there's angels, but they're not like named in the biblical sense. Like, we know demons and angels, but like they don't like refer to them in the same way. There is a big bad demon who is trying to escape, and I feel like he's representative of like the devil or something like that. But so there is the big bad demon who is trying to make his way back into our realm. There are the good guys. There is a legend of a Lightbringer who is supposed to help defeat the Darkbringer. And there's some characters who are, you know, betraying right off the bat. There's some witches, there's giants, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And so far it's actually been very good. It's just been confusing because there are so many perspectives for me. So I'm actually annotating my book, which normally I don't do, But in this case, I am, one, because there's a live show and a discussion, and two, because there are just so many characters that I can't remember who is who. Like, I'm really bad with names, and then when you have so many points of view, I'm like, wait, who was this person again? What were they doing? So now I've actually written like a little note next to each one of their titles. Like, this is this person who did this, and it's like, there we go. That way going forward, if I forget, I can reference back. But for the most part, I think once I get through more of it, their names will stick. But right now, I'm still struggling. But that's one that I definitely have to read before the end of the year. Okay, so the last stop on our little journey through Lightfall is actually at the Rich Pigeon Pub. Yes, the Rich Pigeon Pub. That sounds interesting. The Rich Pigeon Pub. The prompt for that one is going to be a book that is written by 2 or more authors. So I know that I have several books that have 2 or more authors, because when I shelved them and I did it alphabetically by author's last name, I was like, okay, well, which author am I using? But the fact is I couldn't find most of them. So I did find one, and it's one that I really need to read. And that would be All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. So this is actually a sequel, another sequel. You notice that there's a trend. I'm using this opportunity to read sequels because I need to read sequels. This I know for a fact is a duology, so if I finish this one, I can check that series off my list. But the first book, All of Us Villains, is actually, how do I describe it? It's the Hunger Games, but everybody sucks and they all have magic. So basically in this world, there's a town, and the town has, the people in that town have magic. However, every decade or so, I think it's every decade, I wanna say it's every decade, but every decade or so there is a competition between the families that have magic in this town to see who wins the power over the magic for the next decade. So there's like 6, I can't remember how many families, but I think there's like 6 or 10 families. There's a fair amount in this town, and they have magic, and they choose a teenager from their family to go into a battle royale style competition, and the remaining kid who survives this Hunger Games style battle ends up winning the control over the magic supply for their family for the decade, or ever how long the time period is. I read it a couple of years ago, so the numbers are a little fuzzy. I really loved the first book. Like, I absolutely loved the first book for several reasons. One, the writing is great. The characters, you either love them or you hate them. And one of the characters is my favorite, Alistair. He's absolutely one of my favorite characters. The really interesting thing that I find about the story is the themes of what exactly makes you a villain. Like, we have Alistair, who, again, my favorite. He comes from the villainous family. He was raised to be a villain by actual villains, because they have done some terrible freaking things, let me tell you. But he is still such like a good-hearted person. He tries, and he's great. Like, I love him. And then you have other characters who think themselves the hero and they're the righteous, but in reality, the things that they do are so self-serving and so villainous that it's just mind-boggling. So I love the themes of how just because you think you're in the right doesn't necessarily mean that you are, and sometimes you can be a villain even though you're trying to be the hero. So I really like this story a lot, and I'm excited to read the second one. It was one of those things where by the time the second one came out, I had just been elbow deep in so many other books that I never got back around to it. So if I can get to this one, that would be absolutely awesome. So that is all of my books for Lightfall on my TBR, but I do have some others because, let's be honest, it's December, so Christmas is coming up. I couldn't go a whole nother year without getting to read these books, and the only time I can read these books really is during this season. So the first book on my list is actually The Wedding Witch. I think it came out this year, if I remember correctly. I think it came out earlier this year, but this is the 3rd book in the X-Hex series. So, okay, so the X-Hex is in a series. What is the series called? I don't think the series is called, I don't know if there's a name for the series. But basically it's like any other traditional romance series where it's a standalone book, but it's set in the same world and ties into all of the other standalone books in the series. So technically you don't have to read them in order, but you should, because they go together, but they can also stand alone. You know what I mean. All the romances kind of follow that. So this one is The Wedding Witch, and it is the 3rd book. So you have the X-Hex, which follows one couple. Then you have the Kissing Curse, I believe, which follows the guy's brother and the girl's cousin. And then I think, if I am correct, that this is the 3rd brother, and I don't know who the girl is. But I know that there's 3 brothers, so I'm assuming that this is the 3rd brother. But I'm super excited to read it. I love the X-Hex. I love Kiss and Curse. They are like that romantic, goofy kind of Halloween. So the X-Hex is about a girl who gets mad at her boyfriend and accidentally curses him with like a Bath and Body Works candle. So there's like, it's not too serious. It's very Halloween Town, but for adults. So with those two, the first 2 books being in that similar vein, I'm assuming that this is going to have that same vibe, but also with some Christmas elements thrown in, which I'm super excited to read. And it's also super short. It's under 300 pages. I think it's like it's 276 pages. So super short. I can probably get through it in like, I don't know, a day, which is great because the quicker I can get through a book, the better, because let's be real, my Goodreads challenge is still really hurting. So last but not least on my TBR is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. So obviously, if you've seen any of my earlier vlogs, I have 5 copies of this book and I am excited to finally get to read it. I am a huge Stephanie Garber fan, like a huge Stephanie Garber fan. And I collect editions, like any edition that I can find of Caraval, Once Upon a Broken Heart, the entire series. So obviously when Spectacular came out, I had to run out and get it. It is the Christmas special following the characters from Caraval. It's a short novella. I don't know if it's got numbered chapters. I don't know if it's a bunch of short stories or if the chapters are just named, but it's about 220 pages. It's got absolutely adorable illustrations inside, so I'm super excited about that. And I've been wanting to read it. Like I love like revisiting that world. It's one of my favorite worlds. The whimsy, the mystery, the murder, like I love it. I absolutely love Caraval. So when I found out that this was coming out, I got super excited and I ordered a whole bunch of copies of it. But again, it is a Christmas special, so it is something that I have to read during this time of year. Otherwise, it's just not gonna be the right vibe. So this is definitely one that I need to pick up this month. Even if I have to skip some of my other on that TBR, this one is getting read this month. For sure. And it'll probably be nice to break up some of the more like drama and anger filled, because I can only imagine that this is probably going to be absolutely adorable with a little bit of sinister, like all of the other books. So, all right, so that is my TBR for the month of December. I'm gonna be participating in Lightfall. Again, I'll link G's video down below so that you can see the video for Lightfall and the introduction into it. If you do participate, it's a week in December. I am giving myself, again, the whole month because I'm not gonna get it done in a week. Anyways, if you have read any of the books that I'm going to read, please let me know how you like them down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Or if you have any books that would fulfill any of these prompts that you think I might like better than the ones that I've picked up, please let me know also, because I am perfectly okay with changing my TBR in the last moment. So I appreciate you guys for coming. Thank you for joining me again, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.